All right, so for the lesson for today, you are going to work on little scenarios. If you're in person, we actually are going to work in small groups throughout the classroom. But if you're at home, unfortunately, you kind of have to do it by yourself. So I'm going to do two with you, and then I'll give you two to practice on your own. And then you have one that's going to be your exit slip that's for an actual grade. So let's look at this first one. It says building a campfire. So I'm going to kind of look at my questions first so I know what I want to look for, and then I'm going to read. So it says identify the text structure used. Now we should know by now the 5 different types. Circle 3 words that give you a clue that helps you know which text structure it is. Use context clues to help write a definition for the word Tinder. And then finally underline the sentence that tells you what to do once the fire is lit. So as I'm going through this, I'm going to talk to you a little bit, and then I'm also going to talk a little bit about those signposts that I taught you earlier in the week. So here we go. Building a campfire. Sitting around a campfire is a classic summer camping tradition. Before you can tell scary stories, though, you will need to build your fire. Begin by gathering firewood from around your camp. In addition to wood, you will need other tinder like pine needles, bark, or dead plants to help ignite the fire. Then dig a small pit for your fire and build a ring of stone around it for maximum safety. Place your wood and tinder into the pit and start the fire by using an ignition source, such as a match. Once ignited, slowly blow your flame to build heat. When you have a flame, use large pieces of firewood to build a teepee. Now sit back and relax in front of your roaring campfire. I probably would put and then eat s'mores because that's like my favorite camping thing to do. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. What type of text structure do you think we have here? Are we talking about cause and effect? Is there a problem and a solution? Is there something happening in order? Do we have two things we're comparing? What do you think? I think the best answer is going to be sequence. Okay, so if I was you, I would be writing on here. This is probably going to look really bad. So if you have a printer, you can print this. Otherwise, you can just write down your answers as well on a piece of paper. So we have a sequence, which means we're going in order from beginning to the end. So it's literally telling us how to build a campfire. First you do this, then you do this, etc. So you want to look for those keywords that's going to help you know what type of text structure you're working with. So what I'm doing right now is called annotating. We also learned that this week. That is when you write, I have symbols and then explanations with it. So right now, all I'm doing is circling the 3 words that I feel like help me know what sequence. I have before, and then, and then maybe when. Those are all good examples that lets me know it's sequence. Number 3, use context clues to write a definition for the word Tinder. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to underline, maybe I'll actually box my word Tinder. I'm going to reread the sentence just so I can understand maybe what the definition might be. So in addition to wood, you will need other tinder like pine needles, bark, or dead plants to help ignite the fire. So tinder. So kind of reminds me of wood, maybe things like pine needles, bark, dead plants. And then it says ignite the fire. So maybe it means that tinder is material used for lighting a fire. So right here, I would just write out material used. This is a lot harder than it looks. And then for lighting a fire is what I would continue to write there. Now, this also might be a signpost that we learned earlier this week. I'm going to put a WG for a word gap because I have no idea what the word Tinder meant, or I did not know what the word Tinder meant until after I read this paragraph. So there's my word gap. Good. So we have our definition. Maybe we have a word gap there. Then my next question is underline the sentence that tells you what to do as soon as your fire is lit. Let's go back here and look towards the end. Let's see. Once ignited, slightly blow on your flame to build heat. When you have a flame, use large pieces of firewood to build a teepee. Oh, okay. There, it told me what to do. It said, once ignited, slightly blow on your flame to build heat. Okay. And this actually for me, before I knew anything about camping, so way back in the day, because I like camping now, this would have been a contrast and contradiction because I would think blowing on a flame or blowing on something would blow it out like a candle. For your birthday, you blow on the candle, it goes away. But actually, blowing on the flame lightly helps build that heat and build the flame more when you're building a campfire. So that was kind of contradicting what I already knew about fires going into this. So that should be all of the answers to this question for this section, building a campfire. If you feel like you're struggling or you don't understand, um, please just email me. So that's the first example. Another example is going to be about lodging. Lodging options for all. Do you know what the word lodging means? It kind of means like where you sleep, where you stay. So if you're camping, maybe you're camping in a tent, maybe you're camping in a camper, or you're staying in a hotel or a cabin. So that's kind of what I want you to think about when we're reading this. Once again, number one says identify the text structure. Number three, how do you know it's that text structure? Number four, write a subtitle for the paragraph and explain why you chose that. And the last one, underline the sentence that tells you why sleeping in a cabin might be warmer. All right, here we go. I'm actually going to annotate as I read because for me, it helps me instead of going back at the end. Okay, lodging options for all. Are you the type of camper who enjoys the outdoors and wants to snooze under the stars with only the cover of a fabric tent? Are you? I think I would prefer a camper. Or are you an indoor camper who prefers the safety of a cabin and a roof over your head? That's me. That's me for sure. So right now they're asking us a question. Okay, they want to get you thinking a little bit before you're reading. So do you prefer sleeping in a tent? Do you prefer sleeping with something over your head? What is your preference? You are going to have a blast with both choices. If you choose to camp in a tent, be prepared to spend an hour or two setting up your temporary lodge. On the other hand, cabin goers just need to open up their front door and plop down their belongings. Think about where you keep your food. A cabin often has a hinge and latching door, whereas a tent you will need to be zipped shut. Hungry animals can usually find their way into both if they try hard enough. If you are sleeping in a tent while camping, bundle up under your sleeping bag. The cabin residents, however, can cozy up on their cots with sheets and blankets. Which lodging option is right for you? For me, I can totally handle a tent, but short term. If it's like a long term, like week thing, I prefer a camper. Let's see, what kind of text structure do you think that we used here? We talked about camping. We talked about camping in a tent or camping in a cabin. So hopefully you said compare and contrast because that is the best option. We're comparing and we're contrasting those two different types. What three phrases help you decide this? So circle those three phrases. I actually underlined it, but I saw on the other hand, I saw whereas, which means there's more than one thing. And then I think you could also say or circle this part. Because it's like, which one do you like? Do you like this one or do you like this one? And that let us know there's going to be two different things to be talked about. So then the next question says, write a subtitle for the paragraph explaining why you chose that subtitle. So a subtitle is something that goes below. Sub means below. Below our main title. Main title is lodging options for all. So what do you think could be a subtitle for the paragraph? I'm thinking like cabin or tent. Cabin or tent. Because basically those are the two things that they talk about. Cabin or tent. Hopefully your writing is better than mine. And then the last question here says underline the sentence that tells you why sleeping in a cabin might be warmer. I remember reading this farther down in the paragraph. Let's see. Oh, here we go. The cabin residents can cozy up on their cots with sheets and blankets. So if you are sleeping in the cabin, you're probably going to be warmer with those sheets and blankets because you're already warmer being inside as opposed to being outside. Now, I don't see any big words that may be word gap. I don't see any extreme language like you have to sleep in a cabin, you have to sleep in a tent. I don't see anything that's contradicting what I'm thinking, and I don't see any numbers or stats. So there actually probably are not any signposts in this one, which is totally fine. There may not always be one, but when you're actually working on your own, I would like for you to try and find a signpost in these next two. So the two I want you to practice on your own are going to be being prepared while camping and then picture perfect camping. Do those two on your own, and then you do have one that is going to be your exit slip. It's called Fire Ban in Effect. So talking about some fire in that one. If you have any questions, email me. Otherwise, make sure you complete the exit slip.